Eddie Hearn expects Tyson Fury to school Deontay Wilder in the trilogy. Eddie Hearn backing Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder again and set up a summer 2021 fight with AJ. No wasting time. Let's jump into his comments. He said, I think Fury's got to be a huge favourite. He's beaten him twice already, really. But Wilder is dangerous, and you never know a fighter's mindset when they go from achieving what Tyson has achieved with a load of money in the bank. How does that hunger, how much does that hunger still exist? Ed Hearn's talking about Fury. Said you can bet your life the hunger will be there for Deontay Wilder. But Fury is a big favourite in that fight. He's really schooled him twice, and I expect him to do so a third time. So Eddie Hearn basically believes that Tyson Fury is going to school Deontay Wilder. Will Tyson Fury school Deontay Wilder? Obviously, like Tyson Fury's not like Eddie Hearn said, Tyson Fury is a big favourite in that fight. In the first fight, most people believe that Tyson Fury actually won that fight despite Deontay Wilder's ninth round knockdown, and that devastating knockdown that would have knocked out 99.9% of heavyweights today. Well, it didn't knock out Tyson Fury though. In the rematch, we all saw what happened there. Tyson Fury absolutely schooled Deontay Wilder and beat him to a pulp, and that's all she wrote. Towel thrown in, lost the fight. Wilder blaming the suit, had nothing to do with the suit. One thing I can say that Wilder shouldn't have done visibly coming into that rematch, that coming in at 231 pounds for me was a big mistake. He lacked the technical deficiencies against Tyson Fury in the rematch. Tyson Fury obviously his jab seemed to be a lot stronger than it was, rocking Wilder back on his heels a few times. It went all the check boxes you can tick for what went wrong against Deontay Wilder went wrong. There's nothing we really saw in that rematch that he couldn't, even the shots he landed didn't even do anything to Tyson Fury. So Tyson Fury schooled him in the first fight. I think the first fight was, a lot of people think it was a blowout for Tyson Fury. If you look at the CompuBox, output of both fighters, there wasn't really much in it from round to round. Obviously, some people say Tyson Fury had a ring generalship in the first fight, so some people are swinging it to Tyson Fury. Deontay Wilder fans will say, well, like I said, the output of both guys were kind of close from round to round. There wasn't much volume, and Deontay Wilder was able to get the 9th round knockdown and the 12th round knockdown. Some Wilder fans already saying, Wilder Fury was actually knocked out. Jack Reese took too long to do the count and whatever. But obviously, he was right to let him continue. Obviously, I think 99.9% of refs, apart from Jack Reese, would have probably stopped the fight. The way Tyson Fury was looking on the canvas, because he was absolutely stretched out on the canvas. And like Eddie Hearn said, he was talking about here that Wilder is dangerous, and you never know a fighter's mindset. And also talking about that Wilder will be hungry, and I believe that Wilder will be hungry for this trilogy. And everybody knows how dangerous Deontay Wilder is already. No, it's no surprise if Wilder comes in there and irons out Tyson Fury. It will shock people, but it wouldn't be a surprise, because we all know Deontay Wilder carries that power. Right hand, ask Dominic Brazil, ask Luis Ortiz, basically ask every opponent Wilder's fought apart from Tyson Fury himself. And Tyson Fury himself got dropped in devastating fashion. So Tyson Fury is the one to tell you that he can't, even after the Dillian Whyte loss to Povetkin, Tyson Fury said he's not going to take the eye off the ball ahead of Deontay Wilder, because you can be schooling someone all the way to like a round 5, boom, out of nowhere, devastating knockout, bang the canvas, and you might not get up the next time like you did in the rematch, if you get caught right. So Tyson Fury himself said he's going to be keeping his eye on the ball. Eddie Hearn's obviously backing Tyson Fury to win the trilogy. Most people are backing Tyson Fury to win the trilogy. Most people think he beat Deontay Wilder in the first fight. He obviously bashed up Deontay Wilder in the second fight. So what's to suggest that Deontay Wilder's going to come and beat Tyson Fury except by a lucky right hand? That's what most fans and most boxing commentators on YouTube, or most commentators are going to be saying. What can Deontay Wilder do to beat Tyson Fury? What can he learn within a small space of time to beat Tyson Fury? Is he going to come in there, try new things, and if it doesn't work, he's going to go back to being right hand happy? We don't actually know what to expect from Deontay Wilder in the trilogy. Obviously, Eddie Hearn said, like I said, Eddie Hearn's already saying Wilder's dangerous. We know Wilder's dangerous. If he catches Fury right, he could be lights out. He also said Wilder's, hungry. I expect Wilder to be hungry. This is Wilder's opportunity. If he beats Tyson Fury, he's going to be in line if he can sort out a contract with Eddie Hearn and AJ for the undisputed. And if he does beat Tyson Fury, I expect him to jump into that, undisputed fight. I don't want this guy to be going fighting some next man and then getting beaten by someone he shouldn't get beat by. Then there's no undisputed fight. I expect him to be hungry against Tyson Fury, because if he is unable to beat Tyson Fury, where does Deontay Wilder go from there? Will he be stuck fighting PBC fighters, Charles Martin and all these other guys trying to get his confidence back? Obviously, I would expect someone like Deontay to knock someone like Charles Martin spark out, but would Deontay Wilder lose his luster as a top heavyweight, in the division? Someone that people fear. Would he lose his fear factor if he loses to Fury again? How would that affect Deontay Wilder's confidence as the bronze bomber if he loses to Tyson Fury again in the trilogy? So like Eddie Hearn said, I expect Deontay Wilder to be hungry, because if he doesn't win, like I said, I don't know where Deontay Wilder goes from there. If he wins, he's back. He's the WBC champion. He's the Ring Magazine champion. The big paydays, after coming off the back of Tyson Fury win, going into AJ fight, that would, in fact, it might be even bigger than it was originally. If AJ comes through Pulev, comes through Usyk potentially, and Deontay Wilder knocks out Tyson Fury in devastating fashion, and then takes on his mandatory in Dillian Whyte or Povetkin and knocks him out in devastating fashion as well, we might have a massive fight build up between AJ and Deontay Wilder again. The fight a lot of fans really wanted to see. So Deontay Wilder knows what lies ahead from him if he beats Tyson Fury, and I expect that to make him hungry, and I expect that to be his motivation in order to potentially defeat Tyson Fury. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about Eddie Hearn's comments talking about Tyson Fury's going to school Deontay Wilder in the trilogy? Will Tyson Fury school Deontay Wilder? Because for me, in terms of schooling, if you look at the first fight, a lot of fans will say he schooled Deontay Wilder there despite the knockdowns. The rematch, that they had, I think he exploited, rather than really schooling, it was more of exploiting Deontay Wilder's weaknesses. They've watched Deontay Wilder, doesn't like pressure, because if you look at the first Fury Wilder fight, a lot of what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder in the rematch, if you look at that round 12 after Fury got off the canvas, Tyson Fury tended to emulate what he did in that round 12 with more energy, and better fitness against Deontay Wilder for the whole fight in the rematch, as long as it lasted. They saw Deontay Wilder didn't like getting pushed back. They saw Deontay Wilder didn't like being on the ropes. And that's exactly what Tyson Fury did. He brought in Sugar Hill, watched a lot of that round 12, tried to emulate a similar thing against Deontay Wilder in the rematch, and it worked in spectacular fashion to give Tyson Fury the WBC and Ring Magazine. And what can Deontay Wilder do to fend off this game plan if Tyson Fury comes with that game plan again? We have to wait and see what happens. But drop your comments again, like, subscribe, share this video. Drop your comments again. What do you guys think about Eddie Hearn's comments on expecting Tyson Fury to school Deontay Wilder? Will Tyson Fury school Deontay Wilder? Let me know what you guys think. Cool.